Here with Kyle Blaine, who's the director of InsideVandy.com, and he's been reporting on the recent religious controversy on campus. Kyle, welcome to the show.
Hi, Sam.
Let's jump right into it. Could you tell me a little bit about how this so-called religious controversy began?
Yeah, it begins about fall 2010 is really where you have to go, and it's when the Christian fraternity on campus, Beta Upsilon Chi, asked a member of its fraternity to leave the organization because he was gay, and because he accepted that he was gay, and because he came out over the summer. After that happened, the Hustle reported on it in November, and the university began looking into it. And while they were dealing with Bucks, they took a look at other organizations on campus and their constitutions and how that really, are there anything in the constitutions that violate the non-discrimination policy in a way that Bucks did? And when they did that, they did find some violations, and that's kind of sparked this entire controversy.
So the issue now is about the non-discrimination policy and the way it's been implemented. Is there a change in the policy? Is this something new?
Well, I wouldn't call it a change. The non-discrimination policy was written in the 90s, and it's the policy that you see in the student handbook today. The university, the best way to describe it, I would say, would be to say that the university is finally asking groups to come into compliance with their non-discrimination policy. And if there has been any change, they're now specifying exactly how their non-discrimination policy applies to those groups and what it means for leadership and membership.
Now, back on Restore Religious Freedom at Vanderbilt for a moment, they're using a quote from Supreme Court Justice Alito that reads, "A religious body's right to self-governance must include the ability to select and be selective about those who will serve as the very embodiment of its message." So what does this mean, and also what does it mean as we're a private school?
Well, I think that the quote accurately represents the spirit of what these groups are trying to tell the university. However, I've seen the quote used as a way to say the Supreme Court disagrees with Vanderbilt University, and that is just on its face false. The quote comes from a case that was decided recently that really has no facts similar to what occurred here. It was dealing with church groups and selection of ministers within churches. There is Supreme Court legislation that deals with this issue. If people are interested in looking at it, it's Christian Legal Society v. Martinez. And in that decision, the Supreme Court upheld the implementation of an all-comers policy, which is what the university is trying to do here. So I understand the spirit of the quote. I would say that it's a little misleading to suggest that the Supreme Court disagrees with the university.
Now, you're talking about student organizations more broadly here. Some people, I think, get the feeling that this policy is only targeting religious groups specifically. Is this the case? What about political groups or Greek organizations that make cuts or have specific leaders with specific ideologies?
I'll get to the two things you just mentioned, but I would say that the university is also thinking about student groups more broadly, and they don't see many distinctions in the way they're applying their non-discrimination policy among student groups. They're going to treat Christian Legal Society the same way they treat MANA, for example.
Right.
So I think that it's an equal application of the policy. Now, I think maybe the question you want to ask is, does the policy inherently put undue burden on religious groups? And I think that's a matter up for opinion. But if you look at political groups, there is nothing in the non-discrimination policy that says you can't discriminate based on political belief.
Okay.
It's just sexual orientation, religion, race, and gender. Greek organizations have a Title IX exception. If people want to know what that means, they should probably look it up because it is a lengthy explanation. Basically, it means is that Greek groups social fraternities and sororities do get some exceptions under the law. So they're kind of a different territory.
Okay, so it doesn't apply necessarily
in the same way.
Same way.
Yeah.
Okay. Now on to tonight. Tonight's the much anticipated town hall meeting, and it was originally announced by Chancellor Zeppos himself. So obviously it's an issue that's important to the whole school. Why is tonight so important?
I think tonight's important because very rarely do you get to see a university, especially our university, define its values so publicly. And I think that really you're going to see a clash of worldviews that I think is a microcosm for what is occurring around the United States over these issues. And so I think it's a valuable educational experience, and I think that there's a lot at stake. If you have a horse in the race, there's a lot at stake.
Okay. And you recently sat down with the provost, I understand.
I sat down with him last night.
What did he have to say about tonight?
Yeah, well, we talked about what to expect, and you know, the town hall is pretty much going to go. There's going to be an introduction by the moderator, who's a dean from the Divinity School, and the provost and Dave Williams, who's the chief counsel to the university, will then give about a 5 to 10 minute presentation about the policy, clearly articulate the policy, and then open the floor to questions. So there's definitely a lot of room for debate at the town hall, and a lot of room for some heated discussion. So we'll see how it ends up.
Okay. And you're going to be covering the event
I will
tonight?
be covering the event. Yes, I will. You can follow me on Twitter. I'll hopefully be tweeting, and so.
Right, and make sure to check it out on VTV News. So thank you very much, Kyle. I appreciate it. John, Carly, back to you.